up in Iowa, in a little community, Fairfield, Iowa, where there is a lot of Vastu architecture. My parents bought a Vastu sort of condominium when I was entering college, and I lived there for a year or two after college. And I think one thing to be said, especially now that I appreciate having lived in New York City, where everyone is vitamin D deficient. There's a lot of great sort of daylight, sunlight that comes in. Really good like window cover for the various areas of the house. You always feel like you're getting that outside influence, and that you're not in your own little cocoon unless you want to be, with the blinds down. But it's just really good lighting throughout Vastu architecture. That's, I would say, the thing that I've noticed the most. I will say also that I tend to sleep, it just feels a little bit more silent somehow. I tend to sleep better in Vastu architecture. The entrance facing the direction of the rising sun, I think, is pretty cool. That's like an intelligent architectural design thing. I think there's other things going on with that in terms of how the entrance is located in relation to the kitchen and everything else that I'm sort of less familiar how that is helpful. But when I go into a Vastu house, it always feels nice, and you can't always say that about every house. So, before we were out here in this Vastu building, we were in a basement where it just felt a little bit more confined, a little bit less open and free. Generally speaking, there's a much sort of lighter feeling in this building, and it gets a lot of great fresh air. We designed it to make sure that we have everything accessible within the building itself, and it just, I don't know, I think just in general there's a lighter feeling for me. Vastu, yeah. To a certain extent, it's something I feel like people have to experience. I would definitely recommend anyone who's thinking about Vastu as something that they want to explore for their business or their home, that they should definitely go into a Vastu house or a business of some kind and sort of have a moment, settle down into the present in that building and just get a sense for what it feels like in there. I'm more of a person who feels my way through the different places that I go to and I work in, and the feeling in a Vastu home or a Vastu office building is more settled. And I think it leads to a work environment that ends up being more settled and less stressful. And that ends up being healthier, and you get to save on health insurance and everything else.